All right. Well, hello, everybody. We were supposed to be live streaming this, but the tech gods were not with me today. So I'll have to figure that out later. But this is Tom Petty from controlmypsoriasis.org. And today I'm interviewing my friend Joni Kazantzis. I think I'm saying that right.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. I realized later, and I apologize for this, that I misspelled your name um, in the banner images and that kind of stuff. So I apologize for
No worries.
I missed the second Z there.
There are a lot of Z's for sure.
So, but Joni is a fellow psoriasis warrior like I am, and she graciously agreed to be interviewed today and ask her some questions about her journey and how this has affected her. And, those of us with autoimmune diseases and skin diseases, I was telling Joni just before we got on this that, my face decided to break out big time today too, which is obnoxious. And I was going to put on some of my wife's makeup, but I decided I'm just going to own it. And it's what I am today. So here we are. So anyway, welcome, Joni. I'm so glad that you're here. And, just tell us a little bit about who you are and, who are you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Joni Kazantzis. I married a Greek man, so my last name became significantly harder to pronounce once that happened. But I am 38. I live in Princeton, New Jersey, grew up in New York, 20 minutes from the beach. So do miss about New Jersey being an hour from the beach now, but I live with my husband and my two daughters. They're 6 and 4. I pre-pandemic had a career in advertising and then decided for everyone's benefit to become a stay-at-home mom / snack distributor / remote school concierge.
Yeah, I like your title in your LinkedIn profile too. I forget exactly what it says, but it's like, oh, that's clever.
Yeah. Because, I'm still working very hard, but, my role has changed.
Yep.
But I have a marketing degree in communications, and I have been living with psoriasis since I was 15 and was recently diagnosed just this past October in 2020, because obviously 2020, wasn't bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
I got diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis.
Oh, no.
So still trying to figure
double whammy.
Exactly. So, for me, psoriasis is very much second nature. I've had it for more than half my life. I always say like most of my big accomplishments have been had with psoriasis somewhere on my body or at least top of mind. Where psoriatic arthritis is pretty new for me. So I'm just trying to understand kind of what works, what doesn't work, and trying to navigate those waters right now.
Yeah, that's frustrating. So you said you got diagnosed when you were 15. So what happened then?
Honestly,
how did that?
I have gouty psoriasis, and it's typically brought on by strep throat or some kind of traumatic event. And honestly, I just woke up one day like covered in spots.
Wow.
I've always had a lot of allergies growing up. When I was a kid, I used to get allergy shots every week at the doctor's office. Allergic to basically the great outdoors, lots of different types of food, which luckily I have outgrown. But at the time, being 15, my parents just thought that I had an allergic reaction to something.
Yeah.
But after a couple of days, it didn't go away. My grandmother had psoriasis. And she had a very mild case of it. So, the thought was after an allergic reaction was maybe it's psoriasis. So I went to the doctor, he confirmed, and me being 15 just thought like, okay, great. Like, give me a cream. I'll rub it all over for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it'll be gone. So the hardest part really for me when I was diagnosed was obviously walking around high school with a ton of spots, and it was spring. So it's like time,
the looks, the comments. Yeah.
And then it was lacrosse season, and I play lacrosse, and it's a uniform that includes a skirt and a shirt, and it's hot. But it was really hard for me to just understand that it wasn't just a cream and it would go away.
Right.
My doctor started talking to my mom about, what different strategies we would take. Like, we'll try this cream, or then if that doesn't work, then we'll try another cream. And if that doesn't work, then we'll try like a foam. My doctor was pretty conservative with my treatment just because of my age, and didn't want to give me a ton of steroids and things. Would have helped, but down the line would have given me other problems. So, instead of going to hang out with my friends and I'm 15 years old, I was going to do UV light treatments 3 times a week.
Yep. Did you do the PUVA or did you do the you said UVB?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I did the PUVA, which was the UVA. You had to take a pill and all that. It was miserable. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this was, you strip down, you go to the doctor, you go into your light box, you're in it for like 4 seconds.
Yep.
It's like no time at all to do it, but the whole process of getting there, it was very expensive for my parents, having to do a copay every time. And get me there and back, like from work. They'd leave work, take me to the doctor. Like, my grandparents helped out. Like, it was a very time consuming thing to do, but none of the topical treatments really worked for me at first.
Yeah. Now, did the UV help?
Mm-hmm. It helped a lot. It's just, from a maintenance perspective. And then when I had to start kind of taking myself there, my compliance wasn't as good, because of course I want to go to the beach after school instead of, or, I played a lot of sports. I had lacrosse practice. I was on the kick line team. So, practice was after school. There was no time to kind of cut out and go do this. And I definitely didn't want to do it on the weekend.
Right. Yeah. That's hard. That's so hard on a teenager. So how is, you're married now and you've got kids, and how has psoriasis sort of affected your life over, since you got diagnosed and all of that? Has it affected you in a positive way or in a negative way, or both?
I mean, if I would have told you, when I first got diagnosed, that would have been a positive experience, I would have thought you were a crazy person. But overall, I mean, I think it's been very positive for me. It's given me, a different sense of community. About, I guess, 12 years ago now, I started a blog called Just With Spots. Because at the time, you'd look online, and when I was diagnosed, there was no looking online for things. It was like the doctor handed you a bunch of pamphlets. I didn't know anybody else that had it. I had, medical information on it, but there was really no resources for what do you wear? Like, how do you put, what do you put in your hair, and how do you dress, and what kind of makeup do you wear? And like I said, my grandma had it, but I would say our sense of style was a little bit different, where she's like, you just wear a turtleneck. I'm like, Grandma, 90 degrees out. I don't know, turtleneck. Like, or like, a long skirt where I'm, trying to buy a mini skirt at the mall. So, I created it because I really wanted to be like a resource for people, for especially young girls who are being diagnosed, that I just really didn't have when I was first diagnosed. And it's really been giving me these amazing opportunities. I've been able to talk about psoriasis and show what it actually looks like in national magazines. I was able to go on TV with it. It's introduced me to just so many amazing people too. It's to have other people with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis that know what to do and how you feel, and just know that you're not alone is just been really incredible. So, as much as it's uncomfortable and it's always top of mind, and it's always
there.
It's always something to deal with, but it's honestly like brought me some really great things and some really great people too.
Oh, that's cool. Now, I know that you interviewed celebrity Cyndi Lauper not too long ago. So how did that come about, and what was that like?
Yeah, she was incredible. I was so nervous the whole time.
I would be too.
It was a phone interview. It was 2017 now.
And she has psoriasis too.
She has psoriasis, so it was pre-Zoom. Before everybody really adopted Zoom meetings, it was a phone call, on my home, like landline. So I was sure that like my connection didn't cut. And she works with the Kazantzis team and does some campaigns for them. And at the time it was October 2017. So it was World Psoriasis Day is on the 29th, I believe, of October. And she wrote a song about the song was called Hope, and she was inspired by people in the psoriasis community and her own journey, which I thought was just so cool.
Yeah.
That she would, take the time to do that. But it's been such a big part of her life that, she said she wrote it because she was inspired by all of the people that she was able to connect with living with psoriasis. It was a 15-minute conversation. I think my hand shook the entire time. But, it's super cool because anytime you talk to somebody else with psoriasis, there's just this instant connection. And you just are like, oh, I know what you've been going through, the creams, the wraps, the saran wrap. And I think you actually told me what the actual name for that is.
Yeah, an occlusive dressing.
Yeah. And, you just kind of get it. And there's just like instant bond formed.
Right.
Because you kind of just know what you're going through, and you know, like those moments where, you just feel so uncomfortable and just not good. And you feel like, just not good about yourself. And now she's doing it on a world stage. Like I'm doing it, on the subway in New York, where she's got all eyes on her. And she said very much like her costumes were developed to cover it.
Oh, wow.
Very much like her wardrobe had to be specially designed. So she was covering up her skin. Until she really decided to kind of come out with it, that she actually had it. Because I think it, back when I was first diagnosed, like my first instinct was just to cover it up.
We all do. Yeah. We've all been through that. Yeah.
Because people didn't know what it was. Like I had a lady at the beach once tell me it was irresponsible to go out with chickenpox.
Yeah. And, and as a teenager, that's really hard to push back on that.
Oh yeah. I think about that situation a lot more than it's probably healthy too, but think about like, what would I say now? Or like, how would I feel about it now? Now I obviously would feel like I would just tell her off or just explain to her it's just psoriasis. It's not contagious. Like your kids are fine. But at 15, I just cried and had my mom come pick me up.
Yeah. That's so sad. Yeah. I had a similar situation when I was younger than that, where I was asked to get out of a swimming pool. And, because people were afraid to be in the swimming pool. And I went home crying. And it's just people, I don't think they mean to be mean, but it just, for those of us that are already ashamed of our bodies, it's just so hard.
Yeah. So. I mean, psoriasis, I've always been very athletic and it's always been really important to exercise for me, but it's really done a number on, my relationship with my body. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, my skin's not perfect, but if I exercise a ton, then my body will be like make up, for it. And then it's just constantly thinking about like what I'm eating, what I'm consuming, putting in my body. Like if I put this in my body, it'll make my skin worse. It'll like, make me fat and like all the, it's just, even though they're not directly.
It's a constant dialogue going on. Yeah.
In my head, there's all of these like push and pull of, making sure like, okay, well, if I have psoriasis, the rest of my body, like the rest of everything else has to be perfect or better so that, if my skin's bad, then at least everything else is fine. But it's, it's not like that. And
Yeah. Or am I going to get punished for eating that? It's like, oh, I really want to eat that, but dang it, the consequences are
right. And it's,
it's worth it.
Just, as a female growing, and when I grew up, when I was 15, it was all fashion magazines and you look a certain way. And now I'm 15 and I didn't look that way. I was like a string bean, like just tall, lanky arms everywhere, braces, glasses, like as, uncute as it can get. And now I'm covered in these like red spots.
Yeah.
So it just does a number on you growing up for sure. It's definitely affected, how I perceive my body and just kind of the relationship I have with myself. And now it's as I've grown up and, become a mother, like I honestly like don't have time to think about that anymore. And I think it's really important that I'm showing the girls that I have this disease, but it's not who I am. Like
it's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. And I still feel good, even though I have it, even though there are some days where I don't feel good because like and it's more not just because of how I look. It's just because I don't like feel good with clothes on my body because my skin hurts so much.
Yep. Totally get it. As you say, I know exactly what you've gone through.
Yeah.
So, so kind of going back to your blog, what kind of response have you gotten from your blog? I mean, you got to interview Cyndi Lauper, and what has that opened up other connections for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really amazing. I've had people just reach out from an opportunity standpoint. I've was interviewed for Elle magazine recently. I was interviewed for Oprah magazine.
Wow.
I've been able to do some freelance writing on the side for healthline.com and plaquepsoriasis.com, which is super cool because that connects you with other content contributors who are also living with psoriasis. Now you've got this even bigger network of people that know what you're going through. But really, the response that I love is when I get an email from a person that said, I found your blog. I just was diagnosed. I've been going through this alone. I'm so happy that there are other people out there with it.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of what makes me keep going back to writing.
Yeah.
Because that's real. I mean, that's why I started it. And that's it's super important to make sure that people, when you're diagnosed, or even if you've been living with it for a while, you find a connection and you
find a community.
You have a place you can go to get, resources or ask questions, and, you don't have to wait for your doctor to call you back or wait, if you email them that you're going to get a bill. You have people that, I don't have any medical expertise, but if you ask me like what makeup I've used in the past, I can tell you that right away without, very quickly get back to somebody.
Maybe I could use some. So, so are you currently, if you don't mind my asking, and if you don't want to answer this, that's okay, but do you use any prescriptions right now, or have you found some that have worked well for you, or some that haven't worked well for you?
I feel like it's like a lifelong journey of finding what works and what doesn't. And when you find something that works, and then it stops.
Yeah.
I'm currently on a biologic. I'm on Tremfya. I've been on it since January. I've gone as I mentioned, I was on a lot of topicals when I was first diagnosed. I was on a light treatment for a while. I just, did a diet and exercise and lifestyle changes and stress. As I mentioned, though, I did work in advertising, which leads to a lot of stress.
That's a high stress industry. Yeah.
It's a very deadline driven industry. I was a commuter, so that always adds to the stress of it. So, sometimes that approach, the holistic approach, worked. Sometimes it didn't. I've been on 4 different biologics in the past 15 years.
Wow.
I just first started with Enbrel. It just didn't work for me. I went on Humira for a few years. It worked really well, but then decided that I just didn't want to be on medicine anymore. So I went off it, and I stayed clear for a few years after that.
Oh, wow.
After my daughters were both born, I had a pretty big flare after they were both born. But because I was nursing and honestly just didn't have time to go to the doctor.
Right.
I just did it holistically and topicals and over the counter things. And once my little one turned, I think she was like 2, I went back on Humira. And it worked really well for 2 years and then just stopped.
Wow.
Just in 2020, last year, or 2020, everyone's favorite year in August. I just started I just started having a flare.
Wow.
And that's when I started noticing like my joints starting to hurt. And I think that, my doctor thought maybe the Humira was masking it. So I just didn't know. He switched me to Taltz, which just did not work at all. Unfortunately, I didn't have good results. So I know a lot of people who do. So I I was a little bummed that it didn't
Yeah.
work for me, but after a
Right.
couple of months, I switched to Tremfya and it's been working really well. And I'm my skin is clear and I still have a little bit of achiness in my joints in the morning, but for the most part, I'm able to kind of go about my day without, excuse me, any issues.
Wow. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed that continues to help you too, because it's like you say, it's just such a crapshoot that, it's like, well, let's roll the dice and try this one. Well, no, that one didn't work. It's
Yeah.
like,
And I remember,
it's so frustrating.
yeah, I'm super fortunate that I live down the street from the New Jersey Psoriasis Treatment Center.
Wow.
And my doctor is very well versed in psoriasis. He's very connected to the Natural Psoriasis Foundation. So I mean, in the country, he's one of the best psoriasis doctors there is. So,
Wow.
I mean, when I came in after Taltz not working, he said, he just looked at me and said, "Why didn't you call me sooner?"
Mm-hmm.
And, at the time, the issue was I didn't have insurance. So I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
call you because you would have cost me an arm and a leg if I
Mm-hmm.
called you.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to wait until I got my insurance back
Mm-hmm.
before we could sit here and have this conversation.
Yeah. Well, and that's the frustrating thing about the biologics too, is that they're so bloody expensive. And, and if you don't have insurance, it's just impossible to afford them. And even some insurances, when I was on Humira with my previous insurance plan, my out of pocket was $800 a month, and it's just like, it's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot. I was lucky that I was able to get into their care program.
mm-hmm.
So it only cost me $5 a month.
Wow.
But before that, the quote for each pen was $5,000. And I was like, well, I can't do it.
Yeah. It's like, I ain't made of money here.
Right. I can't do that. Like, it's not, I know some drugs you have to take, but this, even though I'm incredibly uncomfortable in my own body, I can't substantiate spending $5,000 on it.
Exactly.
But, through Janssen, I was able to get, part of their, their special care team. And so luckily for me, it's only $5.
Wow.
Each prescription. And with that one, luckily you only take it every 8 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Is really nice. So when I was on the Humira, it was every 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah, a couple times a month. Yeah.
Right. Which is, it's still pretty affordable, but it's more about, for me, it's compliance and,
right.
Setting aside the time to give myself the shot and getting everything set up and just honestly having the courage to push the button and do the injection myself.
Yeah, that first time you give yourself a shot it's like
right. It's like if you're at the doctor and someone's doing it, you have no control over when they actually do it. But at home, you're the one pressing the button.
Yeah. So. And I guess now I haven't been on a biologic in a long time, but I guess now they're all spring loaded. So you just push the button and it does it. So I used to, load the syringe and do it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I have been on the auto injectors for the whole time that I've been on biologics, because you just press a button and it does all the work.
Shoots it in. Right. I guess the thing that bugs me the most is you don't have any control over how fast it shoots it in. It's like, if it hurts, at least with a regular syringe, you can control how slowly you.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Anyway. Well, listen, I just, we've been going almost 30 minutes and I really, really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else you'd like people to know, or, any words of wisdom for people that you'd like to share with people?
That's
putting you on the spot.
Right
here.
On the spot. No, it's good. I think, like we've talked about, it's really important when you have psoriasis to find a community and connect with other people that know what you're going through.
Yep.
That's why, your group on Facebook is so awesome, because you have, this network of people that you can talk to. There's tons of articles out there right now that are being written by actual psoriasis patients. So it's not just somebody who is doing research on psoriasis. So, just make sure you're taking care of that emotional connection with people. And then, mental health is something that we haven't really talked about a ton, but it's really important when it comes to psoriasis. So finding, your people is I think my best advice when you're living with a disease that's so visible like this.
Yeah, no, that's awesome advice. And I actually recently learned that the growing fetus, when we were fetuses, when we were, in womb, the tissue that grows into our brain and into our skin, it starts as the same cells. So that actually evolves. Your brain and your skin are actually hardwired together. And yeah, and so it's like, stress and depression can cause your psoriasis to get worse, but your psoriasis gets bad, that causes stress. And so it's just this vicious cycle because they're hardwired together. So yeah, it's the emotional impact of psoriasis, in my opinion, is one of the most frustrating things that people don't talk about.
Yeah. I mean, when I was first diagnosed, it was all about skin.
That's right.
What's happening inside your body or with your emotions about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, thank you so much for
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for taking the time. And I'm sorry that we weren't able to go live, but I'll figure that out another day. But I'll definitely get this recording up onto the group, and people are most welcome to ask questions and reach out to you, I suppose. And
absolutely.
And I'll make sure that everybody has a link to your blog, which is justagirlwithspots.com, but I'll put that in the description as well. And so thanks so much, Joni. So
yeah, thanks again. Have a good weekend.
All right. Well, you too. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.